to have the opportunity to introduce to you our moderator for this session, Mr. Peter Simon. Peter currently serves as Chief Technical Advisor of an agency for Luxembourg Development Cooperation Project in Vientiane, Laos. Prior to his current engagement, Peter served as team leader of the Asian Development Bank funded Mekong Tourism Development Project in Vietnam. Peter also used to serve as Vice President of Pacific Asia Travel Association, which is PATA. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Peter Simon.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all? Excellent. Last session of the day, but sure to be a very, very exciting one. Today, we are going to do the final of tomorrow's tourism competition. Now, I want to give you a little bit of a background as to where all of this started. Some months ago, PATA invited all of the educational institutes to ask their students to submit a 5-minute video where the students would describe indicators of tourism, how to measure tourism for the future, using indicators other than what we usually do, arrivals, revenues. What other way could we actually measure the impact of tourism, both the positive and the negative impact? Amazingly, over 30 teams submitted a video. And there was a selection committee. It was a complicated selection because with that many videos to go through. And in the end, 3 finalists were selected. And this afternoon, we have the great opportunity to actually listen to the presentations of the 3 finalists. What will happen is the winning team will receive a small financial contribution to their institute, and tomorrow they will be invited to participate in a debate with life members, current executives in the industry, and talk about the future not only of tourism, but also of PATA as an association. Because I think, as we've heard over the last few days, the future of PATA is very much reliant upon young people and getting young people engaged into our association. So it's going to be an interesting day. We've got 3 submissions. One is from Shanghai, one is from Macau, and one is from India. Now, in order to make this really exciting, what we've done is we've got 3 distinguished judges. These people are people that you have heard speak or that you will hear speak. The first person I'd like to introduce is Ray Hammond. Ray Hammond, if you please make your way up there. Ray will be doing the closing presentation tomorrow. He's a futurist, and he, of course, will have a lot of good, positive input in terms of how we deal with this. Welcome, Ray. I would also like to invite our friend from India, Amitabh Kant. Amitabh, you're on a session tomorrow, I believe. You'll be presenting. Welcome, Amitabh. Wonderful. And last but certainly not least, our friend Richard Quest, who was with us this morning, and he says that he wants to be like Simon Cowell, and this is your opportunity, Richard. Welcome. Now, the format, how we're going to do this is that each of the contestants, they're in a back room somewhere. We want to keep this as transparent as possible. So they're in a back room. Each of them will be asked to come out here. They will have 5 minutes. And I have my stopwatch here. I will be strict about time. 5 minutes to make a presentation. After the 5-minute presentation, our panel will have an opportunity for 5 minutes to drill them, to ask them hard questions, to ask them to justify exactly what it is that they've said. All 3 groups will complete their presentations. The judges will then deliberate. The judges have 3 criteria. The criteria are originality, the impact of what they are suggesting, what the teams are suggesting, and their overall presentation style. Judges, are we clear on what we've got to do?
Thank you.
Okay, very good. I think what we'll do then is that we'll invite the first team out. And the first team is from Shanghai Institute of Tourism. There will be 3 presenters, Yunliang Zhao, Yichen, and Qian. Or is it just you'll be doing it by yourself?
Yes.
Okay, but there's 3 people on your team. Welcome, good luck. I'm going to be timing very carefully. Don't be intimidated by the judges. Welcome.
Hello. Oh, okay, there is already. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm Lyrics from Shanghai Institute of Tourism. Our topic is about tomorrow's tourism. As we all know, with the increasing economy, sustainable development is the way we should follow, especially for tourism, which relies on resources largely, representing the real prosperity. And our index, green benefits, will play an important role in the whole industry. And first of all, next slide, let me see. The first one is the prosperity of tourism, and the next one on that screen is excellent destination. What is the relationship between of these things? I think our system tend to judge whether destination or tourism is good or not because of their co-components of judgment indexes is accordant. So the most important thing that on this slide is low carbonizations, cycle and recycles, and the absence of green consumptions. So in order to make our system more understood, I'd like to introduce our indexes system firstly. On the screen, you can see there are 2 consumptions. The first one is TDP, Tourism Gross Domestic Product, to measure the tourism economic situation of a country or a region. The second one is GTDP, Green Tourism Gross Domestic Products, to measure the green benefits in tourism. And then let me introduce. On the left-hand screen, the first line index is our first class index. And after simply data processing, we can get the increase rate, which belongs to the second class point. They are VGTDP, and we can get the same way. We can get the VTDP. Elastic modulus will be get through the ratio of these 2 increase indexes. And this first part of our system stands for the continuously developing tourism. And we use elastic modulus to calculate. The second one stands for the stable one. We use the increase index rate of it. Next is our rank list. Our rank list you can see on this screen. The rank from part 1 is always higher than part 2. For each part, the rank is in the descending order. And now, we prepared for 2 questions. The first one is, it's easy for us to collect the GTDP from national statistics, but what about the GTDP? We can see it. We can see it from its definition clearly. GTDP is the combination of the incomes of low carbonizations, cycles and recycles, and green consumptions. There are 2 effective ways to apply to get the data according to the components of marketing. For operators and the developers, we can get the data from the expenditure of forest carbon sinks. And for our demanders, especially the travelers, we can get data from our special card we call e-card. We can record the cuisines, accommodations, transportations, sightseeing, entertainment, and shoppings. We can record all the consumptions on this card. Another question is, what is the realistic significance of our system? Authorities and credible organizations are invited to work out all the figures in our, through the system, ranking all the countries and the regions. The first part is for the underdeveloping countries. Oh, thank you.
Okay, stay where you are. Stay where you are. Well done. Amitabh, Richard, Ray, questions?
Well done on making that presentation. Tell me, who do you imagine in the real world will actually make the measurements you're suggesting?
So you mean who will
will there be people whose job it is to measure the number of green tourists? I mean, who will do this?
Maybe each government of the country. Maybe I think because it is a very important thing to do things by government, because we want to get a specific date of GTDP, as mentioned before. And I think we should use the e-card to do this. E-card based on maybe in the credit card or the ID card.
Who will care about the results?
I think each country will care about it, because for...
Well, what about the travelers? Is this designed for the travelers, for the industry, for governments? Who's it aimed at?
Who's aimed at? I think it's the whole tourism industry, especially for the governments, I think. Because, not only the travelers, but also the governments or the developers and operators will focus on it. Because its realistic significance is very important. Because nowadays, tourism is developing very fast, and maybe to this kind of regions or countries are very important. Because we can make our estimation about the opportunity cost to guiding governments to strike. Thank you.
See, the impact of tourism is not captured in the national accounts because tourism cuts across several sectors. That's why economists say that you need to create a tourism satellite account. Now, can you do this only for the tourism sector till you don't have a green national accounts? Can you do this for tourism in isolation without having a national green account?
Of course it can be true, because it is a kind of new mathematics model. We can use this to calculate all the results we want. We use this to rank all the countries or the regions, and maybe we can find the results, and some related policies could be provided according to economic situation.
Talk to us for a second or two about the emotion behind it. Why do we care about this number that you want us to look at and that you want to develop?
You mean the tourists, right?
No, this index that you're proposing, this sustainability, you've come up with a very good formula and you've come up with lots of numbers, but you haven't expressed to me yet the emotion as to why you want to do it. What's its significance?
I think the most important thing is the green idea of it. Not only the tourists, but also other kind of organizers or the governments. They will focus on it because it is tomorrow's tourism. It is in the future, and that time because it is a trend to be sustainable for all the works of our life. So I think it is realistic.
Is it that you think it is wrong to look for growth in tourism without insisting it must be green?
What, pardon, please?
Is it that you think, you and your team think,
Yeah.
that it is wrong to look for growth in tourism unless it is green tourism? Is green tourism the only good tourism?
I think in the future, not near future, for the farther future, green tourism, green consumption, green tourism is the good.
20 years, 40 years, 10 years? How far in the future?
I think maybe in the next 30 or 50 years, because nowadays most of the country, like United States and the UK, they are keep the pace with the green tourism, and there are some policies or the other actions to do it.
I found it a very interesting presentation. It's very futuristic. But don't you think this is to be done gradually? And in the interim period, you need some other models till you reach this final stage?
I think we put this model on the screen is to try to describe it is realistic and it can be done for thing. I think maybe the time is limited, but we try to find the effective way to present it.
So it's just not a vision, it's just not a dream of a young generation? It is doable?
Is it?
Is it very doable? Is it
global.
Practical?
Practical. I think it is practical because the new model can be used in every country or regions.
Yunliang, well done.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Please go have a seat down over there. Those are some really tough questions. You guys are ruthless. But good, I like it. Excellent. Our second contestant is flying solo. Her name is Fiona Huang Hao, and she's from the Institute for Tourism in Macau. And let's see if we can find Fiona. Fiona, welcome. Good luck to you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's really my honor to be here to share my little thoughts with you. However, I got only 5 minutes, and I was told that after 5 minutes, my microphone gonna cut off automatically. So I'd better rush up a little bit. And even that, before we get into the tourism world, I would like to share a little story with you. And the story always starts up with once upon a time. Once upon a time, I was born in the west part of China, a poor town. And on my way to school, my friend and I, we met 3 foreigners who lost their way. And we're so kind. We decided to help them instead of going to school. And they treat us for dinner, and we give them some gifts. We're so happy. We're proud of ourselves. We're speaking English and making friends with foreigners. What a big news. We spread out the news to all our friends immediately. However, without telling the part of gift giving, because we all know that the gift that we give to the foreigners worth much more than the dinner they treated us. And by the way, we were absent. And this story told us, like the world of tourism nowadays, we just care about the visitors, the number of the visitors, the money they spend. We really consider what's our investment, what the local people really get. And here, today, probably we got the opportunities to have the chance to take care of them. I've brought a few measurements for us to better understand a successful destination. And this measurement will move from the tourist focus into the local oriented. And the first one will be the return on investment. Let's back to my little story. Here we need two numbers. The first one, the tourist expenditures. The second one is the tourism industry investment. We should calculate the cost. What's the cost for us to bring either the money makers or the troublemakers? And as I'm graduating very soon, I'm worried about myself. Am I getting a job? I couldn't sleep all night. And the rate of job opportunities in the tourism industry really tell us they do their social responsibility at providing our job opportunities. Probably I will be easier if I'm engaged in the tourism industry. And if I'm getting a job, will I be good pay? As high as a lawyer? As high as a doctor? If so, oops, that's great. Yes, that's great, because it tells us the tourism developed in that particular destination has been well done. And if not getting a job, I will pursue my master's degree. And probably I will get a better position after I graduate, because the average education level of tourism-related personnel will tell us what actually your employee is. They're getting a low position or a higher position. And this also tells us the allocation of your human resources. I just dream about all these things, and also I got another dream. I wish some days in the future, when we all talk about tourism again here, and my vision here would just pop up into everybody's mind like that. The tourism is just not about job, it's not just about economic, it's about everything here. We all recognize the power of the tourism as an important tool for development by dealing social, culture, and economic issues in the destination, such as I mentioned, creating jobs, improving the quality of residents' life, and leveraging infrastructure development, ellipses. And somebody may ask, when will this come true? Or will this come true? I don't actually have the answer. I just know we live for today and dream tomorrow. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Fiona, well done. You actually still have 50 seconds left. Stay where you are. Judges, the floor is yours.
I thought this was a very multi-dimensional perspective. You've looked at the impact of tourism from various perspectives, including creation of jobs, local culture. I was wondering if there's an economic methodology to capture all this. Because eventually you have to convince the leaders, the political leaders, on the impact. How do you assess, how do you quantify this?
I understand what you mean. Everybody wants the concrete measurement, like the numbers. It's easy, we just collect it. Like how we collect the number of the visitors by government, and some organization will just collect this all together. It all depends on us what kind of numbers we need, and then we will collect. We think the number of the visitors is important, so we collect the data. If sometimes we think the number of job opportunities is important, then we collect the data. There's also some bias in the visitors. For me, I'm here in Beijing. Will I be counted as a visitors or tourist or some other things? It's difficult to say.
So do you think PATA should take your presentation forward and create a tourism accounting system on these aspects?
Yes, I do. Then it will push this implement.
Fiona, well done for that presentation.
You've
listed clearly the benefits tourism can bring, jobs, improvements in infrastructure and development. You didn't even touch on some of the costs, some of the problems that tourism can bring. Have you considered these?
You mean the problems of tourism they bring?
The problems that tourism itself can bring. I know there are many benefits, but we must, of course, consider the problems.
There's, of course, a lot of problems, like the culture invaded. McDonald's is everywhere, and there's a lot of imported labors into a destination. That's why I was so concerned about the job, because I watch news, I watch CNN, so I know some of the crises, they're just caused by the job opportunities. Like they're jobless, they have nothing to do, they cause the war. And that's my concern.
Okay, thank you.
Let's hope you're still watching after we've finished. I heard you state the problem, you know, return on investment, rate of job opportunities, and
compares the number of the visitors, that's not really rational. Like, I'm a woman and you're a man. Which of us is much prettier, or who is more handsome?
But what does yours give us? What does yours give us that we don't have at the moment?
We deep understand the destination. Like, they have their social responsibility in developing tourism. They create things as job. That's important. We get job.
But by your own admission, a lot of what you're putting forward is not quantifiable at the moment.
At the moment, yes.
So
no, at the moment, no. If PATA push it in the future, yes. Because everything is culturally constructed. If we just push it, why not? It probably become true. Because like a few years ago, we never know we will, yeah, sorry.
So your presentation is really creating a big assignment for PATA to capture the impact of tourism, because several of these aspects are not captured in the accounting systems today. The challenge really is
progressive, the progressive.
Yeah.
So take my model and we will welcome the future.
So you're leaving an assignment for the CEO of PATA?
If I got a chance to talk to him, I will.
Okay.
Okay, is your model
My model?
workable? Have you come up with a whole load of ideas of things to quantify that are not quantifiable?
The indicators that I gave, I think is quantifiable. The data are accessible. We could collect it. Think we cannot? I think we can.
Fiona,
Yes?
thank you very much. Don't watch too much CNN. Please go
Thank
have a
you
seat
very
down there.
much.
Thank you very much. Judges, one more round. We have from the Heritage Institute of Hotel and Tourism from Agra, India, we have two presenters. We have Mridu Sahgal and Harshjeet. And there they are. Mridu, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, Harshjeet, welcome. Good luck. You have 5 minutes.
Namaskar, Beijing.
Namaskar, Beijing. We, the student of Heritage Institute of Hotel and Tourism India, we would like to present a qualitative approach for success in tourism. The session objectives to bring awareness on the SUN model, to understand new parameters to count growth in tourism. Model 6 to understand an ideal destination, and certainly the barriers and solutions for an ideal destination.
Tourism earnings and tourism inflow have generally been the parameters to measure growth in tourism, while other related factors remain neglected. The growth in tourism can also be measured using ingeniously developed SUN model. Our first parameter is employment. Increase in tourism employment shows a relative growth in tourism. Structured and planned employment will yield a qualitative as well as quantitative growth in tourism sector.
Even most of us will agree to me that tourism facilities are also related with the tourism growth. Higher as it adds to the comfort level and the satisfaction of the tourist, which means higher the facilities, greater will be growth in tourism.
Infrastructure. The percentage increase in the tourism-related infrastructure, that is transportation, hotels, networking of roads, etc., denotes a comprehensive growth of tourism.
Even industrial investment in tourism business also shows a relative growth as they foresee the future opportunity in tourism.
Feedbacks and follow-ups. Higher rate of positive follow-ups shows greater satisfaction level, and it helps in retaining tourists and adds to the growth in tourism.
Even government's total investment to improve social environment, like social awareness program, and adopted liberalization policies like visa on arrival also adds to the growth of tourism. Well, easier the process, greater will be growth in tourism.
Living standards. The percentage increase in the living standard of the people living in an area which is directly or indirectly related to a tourist destination.
Well, every destination has some other activity to attract tourists. Well, if the number of events are greater, the tourist arrival, the volume will also increase.
Country's global contribution refers to in minimizing ecological and environmental degradation by stopping greenhouse gases and other chemical emissions to retain favorable conditions for travelers and to ensure sustainable tourism.
If you are tired thinking about an ideal destination, ladies and gentlemen, we first time introduced the concept of Model 6. A destination will be called ideal if it counts its resources, understand its utility, counting resources in terms of spiritual places, historical places with historical importance, market, and their utility in terms of architecture, art, science, and trade.
Analyzing tourist wants and relating it to the resources utility. This can be simply described as a historian would like to travel to a place which has a historical importance, while a trader would like to travel to a market.
Here comes the role of a marketeer. They have to plan their marketing policy in a way that they target each prospective tourist with their destination of interest.
Structuring and coordinating activities to develop uniformity in the process and to create a positive impact on the growth of tourism.
Keeping it short and simple, a destination must work on customer delight. Satisfaction is not the only thing. That will help us in getting better feedbacks, which further can be used to formulating future policies in terms of tourism.
Updating resource list with the utilities refers to updating resource list for the newly developed and created resources for the future market and to bring awareness on the same by advertisements or by other means.
Talking about the barriers, certainly as every system has a cost of implementation, even Model 6 has. As we understand that we already have our old system working. Implementing a new system will add to the cost. Certainly, either there is no dedicated system, or if it is ineffective in terms of coordinating all promotional activities. The lack of education on tourism certainly decreases individual participation, and as well as it does not tell people the benefits they would reap from a phenomenon called tourism.
Now the solutions. The government have to take a conscious step in enforcing education on tourism-related activities, allocation of budgets, and the proper utilization by the authorities. Training and development intervention to inculcate in students skill, knowledge, and confidence. This will increase in individual participation. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay where you are or behind the podium. Judges?
You mentioned tourism education.
Certainly, sir.
Is that education for people providing services to tourists, or is it education for tourists themselves?
It's for everybody, sir. It's for an individual we are talking about. We have to train the local who are especially living in an area or destination nearby. If they are not benefited, certainly they are not going to contribute to the tourism sector. Yes, we do have to educate people who are dealing with the tourism sector. We have to give them a specific knowledge, but we do have to look after the local people.
Would you say that's a very high priority, the education?
Pardon, sir?
Is it a high priority? Is it one of your biggest concerns?
Sir, that we have to, certainly the quality is, there is no mediocrity when we say quality. Yes, the quality should be high.
Okay.
See, the problem with your analysis is that you try to look at tourism in isolation. See, in a country, tourism takes off when that country, tourism in many ways cuts across several sectors. You need to go to the Home Ministry for visa, you need to go to handicraft, for cottage, for some of these cottage industry, you need to go to, law and order enforcement agencies. You cut across several sectors. Now, the problem is when you're talking about employment in tourism, you're talking about investment in tourism, it's actually investment in infrastructure. When the infrastructure of the country takes off, tourism takes off. How do you capture that?
Well, I do agree, sir.
See, accounting experts find it very difficult to capture tourism because tourism is not an isolated sector.
We just have to give a new horizon or new dimensions which can be used further to count growth in tourism. Well, sir, if I feel let's forget about the theory. Let's take an example. If on a particular year, there were 10 people employed in tourism sector out of 100, we would say there was growth in tourism, the percentage of growth in tourism was 10%. The very next year, the growth in tourism, the number of employment has gone up to 20 people out of 100. We can see there is a growth of 10%. It means now the growth in tourism is 20% of the total employment.
Ma'am, I noticed the sun model. The sun model seemed to have everything under the sun included within it. Is your model is it more qualitative or quantitative?
Sure, it's both. It's qualitative also, it's quantitative also. Like in tourism, like if we talk about tourist satisfaction, we cannot count it in the quantity. It is a qualitative approach. And tourism is based on like customer satisfaction. If the customer will be satisfied with our services, then he'll coming back.
All right, but at the end of the day, when you've factored in all these vast array of information, what are you left with?
Pardon?
What are you left with?
I didn't get you. You bring
Well,
me again?
what's the purpose of it all at the end of it? All this information, qualitative, quantitative, what will it tell us at the end of the day?
It tells us about the growth of tourism. Simply means like if we talk about employment, if there'll be better opportunities and if there'll be more opportunities in the tourism sector, that simply means the tourism is increasing.
Okay, so if we make you the finance minister of India tomorrow, would you be able to implement a tourism analytical model to capture the impact of tourism by these activities?
We would love to try, sir.
If given opportunity, definitely will be, but we are still in the learning process. There's a far way to go.
And
definitely
we want the intellectual people to accept our theory and suggest what best can be done to the theory. It's just an outline of the project, and we want intellectual people to come together and have their hands side by side to make a better thing and better tomorrow's tourism.
Feedback. It featured very prominently in your presentation. Would you go as far as recommending that tourists should be interviewed during their visits?
Well, not every time, yes. The Model 6, if we refer our Model 6, yes, there are stages when we have to depend on them, like what they feel when they are when they already have been to a destination. What is their normal idea, where they want things to be improved.
Is that the area, feedback, that you think is most lacking at the moment?
Pardon, sir?
Is that the area, feedback, that is most lacking, that we most need?
It's not that we do not have a system like feedback taking and then following it up. We do have. But we need to stick to the actual essence of feedback and follow-up, having feedback and follow-ups.
Aren't you in danger with all these models and numbers and feedbacks of creating a colossus that is going to put more smoke into the air than shed light?
Pardon, sir, we could not get you.
Sorry?
We actually cannot get you.
Well, it's too complicated.
No, sir, it's not at all complicated.
You've got so much in there. You've got the kitchen sink in there.
Sir, we've made things so easy. Like
Mr. Quest,
so many points to make people understand employment, infrastructure. These are all sub-parts. If we bring all these things together, then it will be complicated.
It's very simple theory, Mr. Quest. Sorry to interrupt in between. I feel it's the most simplest way to present the entire situation. We just have to count the resources, what is the utility, how we can attract our tourists with the utilities in our hand, and the marketing policy, and how to follow it up. That's it. It's very simple policy.
Mridu? Harshdeep? Well done. Thank you. That's okay. Stay where you are. Judges, you have, at your leisure, let's say maximum 10 minutes to make your choice. I'd like to ask Fiona and Yunliang to come up here, or Yunliang's team, whomever from Shanghai Institute. I'd like all of you to sit here. And now, perfect, thank you very much. I would like, we have about 5 or 10 minutes for you to ask the contestants any sort of question you'd like to ask the audience. Yes, sir, we have somebody in the back. This is the UNDP guy.
I'm the UNEP guy.
Oh, EP.
I'm environment. But
environment, not development.
But I'm used to listen also to UNDP.
Yes.
Because our motto in UNEP is environment for development.
Please.
So I want first to congratulate all the teams because I think they have done a fantastic work. And if the future of the tourism lies in their hands, I think that the tourism will be a very prosperous thing. I have 3 questions, one for each team. For the first one, about your green index. Are you going to include there only things about environment, or you are including also social aspects of tourism? In Fiona's presentation, which was quite impressive, Fiona, where is environment in this very nice palm? And in your last presentation, guys, why should be so much complicated? Why so many futures to capture the contribution of tourism? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hang on, I've got to bring the mic up there. Who's going to answer first?
Peter, can you repeat the question?
Sorry.
I wasn't paying attention, actually. I'm embarrassed to say.
We're looking at the cameras.
I was thinking about something else. None of you heard the question? I failed in my job. I was hoping that you young ears would listen. My ears are old now. I'm sorry, you have to summarize, because there were so many questions. Maybe make it succinct. One question.
Okay, so I will pick just one question for the second team.
The second team, Fiona.
Fiona, where is the environment in this nice palm that you have, and you have all the other issues there?
Hello? Which means we can control it. It's all in our hand. We could decide whether we could collect this data or not, and it's all in our decisions. That's the meaning of the palm. Also means power. You can understand like that. That okay for the answer?
That's excellent, Fiona. Rick
Thank
Antonsen.
Rick Antonsen with Tourism Vancouver in Canada. First of all, I think each and every presenter should be invited to join the board of PATA. I think we would no longer go through any... You'd animate the board meetings, and having sat through one yesterday, you would introduce something that is rare, which is rapid heartbeat, so congratulations. It was quite exciting to see the range of things. So the question is simply this, and I would ask it of all 3 teams if there's time. What, having sat yourselves through some of the PATA conference, would be, from each team, one quick recommendation on what PATA itself should do to make sure that people like you stay in our industry, tourism, and don't drift off to other industries because you're real smart?
Excellent question. You, Shanghai Institute, you want to go in order? So team 1, do you want to answer that question? How do we keep you got the question, yes? I can bring the mic, yes, I can do that. There you are.
I think we three teams are concerned about the fundamental methods. They are based on the numbers, and I think partner is a great association, right? So all the members here and all the excellent staff will concern about the numbers, and we can try our best. All of you will help us, help PATA. All of us will collect all the data from each regions and countries, and based on those kind of numbers, figures, everything we can collect, and then later we will make a lot of analyzing that figures, and then we will carry out some policies to different countries in their different stage according to their basic country. Different country will have different politic system, so we should make different system or different policies to different regions, to different areas. So I think partner, all of us will do the best, will contribute to the great events in the future to make our tourism better. Thank you.
Thank you. Fiona.
Yes, I got a mic. Thank you. As I mentioned in my presentation, PATA are, of course, playing the leading role in this trend. Because as a huge organization, they have their responsibility to lead up the trend. Like, if they're saying it's good, then it is good, then we push it. Because everything is culturally constructed. Like, long time ago in China, we think woman fat is pretty. And now the trend is the thinner you are, the prettier you are. That's the reason I'm on diet. And if PATA adapts like any model of us, and we'll push it, say, this is the right thing we should do, this is things that we should take on, and then that will be the things we are doing here. So of course, PATA, leading role, definitely.
Well, I would also say the same thing, like PATA must come up with the events like that so that things can be planned for the better future or better tomorrow's tourism. Yes, tomorrow's tourism has a great potential. We have a lot of resources still with us. Those are not being used. It's high time for a setup like PATA to come up, promote people, intellectual people, expertise, probably to enhance situation, to make, most of the time what I feel, the tourism resources are just exploited. We still are not able to cultivate those resources for future uses. And PATA certainly has a great role to perform.
William, one more question, and I think we've got a decision from the judges. Go ahead, William.
I understand. Thank you. My luck to listen to all of your talks. But after listening, I have an idea. How about gross tourism happiness index? If yes, yes or no? If yes, where shall we start? For all the teams.
Gross happiness index.
With the tourism in the middle.
Pardon, sir.
How about a gross happiness tourism index, like the Bhutan?
Seems like
promote?
Hardcore economic questions, sir. Certainly, I have to study this. Being a hotel management graduate, I'll be a little in fixed condition to answer something which is complicated.
Okay. This is the moment. This is like American Idol. This is PATA Idol. No time for any more questions. This is PATA Idol. This is it. Now, the way that we're going to do this is you guys are going to stay there. And I would like to ask the judges to start with the third place, yeah, and then the second place and the first place, and give some, this is like American Idol. Please don't let it bruise your egos. There might be some things that they say that maybe you won't feel happy about, but it's good for your personal development, and you'll get something out of it. Trust me. You know Simon Cowell, you know American Idol? You guys all watch that. Yeah. So what I would like to ask you is start with the third team. Give just a brief comment or two, then the second team, and then finally the first team.
Well, the third team is the Shanghai Institute. We liked the presentation. We thought it was just a little one-dimensional, but it is, of course, focusing on perhaps the most important issue of all. And my next remark probably goes to all of the presenters. In such a short period of time, you can't have complicated texts and complicated slides, and certainly there isn't much room for mathematical formula.
Want to do number two? You'll be able to work out who's won by who's come second, obviously.
Well, the second is Agra HIHT.
Which, let's just pause for the moment, because that obviously means Fiona is number one.
Fiona is number one, and first of all, let us all on behalf of all the three judges, let me compliment all the three teams for their extremely innovative, creative, and path-breaking work which they demonstrated today. It's just that tourism is a highly complex sector. It's highly complex because the multiplier effect of tourism and its indirect impact on any economy is very difficult to capture. And it's been the funeral of several statisticians, several economists, and several finance ministers across the world who've tried to capture the multiplier and indirect impact of tourism. But for tourism practitioners like us, it's very important to capture that. Because if we are able to capture that, then it's possible for us to tell politicians that tourism is the key driver of your economy. And if you're able to convince the administrators that it's having a huge impact in terms of employment creation, which is the key concern in many economies of the world, then you get higher outlays for tourism. And then you are able to focus more and more outlays on education for tourism, on infrastructure for tourism, and so on. But what makes tourism very complex is because tourism cuts across very many sectors. From civil aviation to visa to handicrafts, it cuts across all the sectors, and to capture the impact of that, economists have invented the tourism satellite accounting system. But to our mind, that's the second best thing. And why we felt, just to give a little bit of view, the Shanghai Institute's perspective was one-dimensional. It just captured the green perspective, which is to our mind a very critical, very significant, very important perspective, but tourism needs to be looked at from several other perspectives. The Agra HIHT just zapped us with the the green one just zapped us with your mathematical model for some time. There was too much of maths going on, and Richard Quest just couldn't capture the mathematical model which you've done. These CNN guys are terrible at statistics and maths. So it was one-dimensional. And Agra was the sun model, and the sun model had just about everything under the sun under it, and too much flowing in, but you had looked at it from several perspectives. It was a good perspective, but in Macau IFT and Fiona's thing, I think what we liked was the simplicity, was the clarity of mind, was the simplicity and our ability to look at tourism from very many perspectives. And our compliments to Fiona for here. It's very important when you're doing an exercise of this nature to understand that you're trying to appeal to a very large common denominator. And it's important that while you reach the end conclusion, it should be your simplicity, your clarity of mind, and your vision which should really appeal to the audience. And I think you had that all with you. So our compliments. Richard.
90% of winning an argument is rarely the argument itself. If the argument, if the argument is presented in a way that you can carry the people with you, and in 5 minutes, You have got to put your best foot forward and keep it as simple as possible. So mere tourist executives, weak of brain, can grasp what is being said. And what I looked for, and what I heard particularly with Fiona, was a certain degree of passion of her understanding of what she was talking about. She felt it. So what I would encourage all of you to do is, when you do a presentation of this nature in the future, the simplest thing to do is not do it to your lecturer or your tutors, do it to your parents, or do it to a friend or a great aunt, and then afterwards say, did you understand that? Did it make sense to you? And they'll probably say, no, I didn't understand most of what you said. But did you feel what I was saying? That, I think, is the way forward. But it was I mean, let's face it, brilliant minds. I love your phrase of had a funeral over satellite accounting. Satellite accounting is the biggest, complex, critical disaster this industry faces. Frankly. And hats off to you for even wanting to get involved in that messy business. Thank you.
Thank you, judges, for some very, very revealing comments. Shanghai Institute, thank you very much. Congratulations. Outstanding, outstanding presentation. HIHT, very well done. Thank you very much. Fiona, you have to stay here if the rest of you would go down there, and we'll invite you for a group picture in a few moments. I would now like to ask Bill Calderwood, the CEO of PATA, to come up to present an award to Fiona. And meanwhile, judges, thank you very much. Thank you very much for wonderful. Amitabh, thank you very much. Richard, thank you very much. Ray, thanks very much for your contribution. If you stay here for a moment, also, we'll get a photo maybe together with Fiona. Well done. Yeah, well, maybe we'll get a picture.
I got a chance to sell my model. I got my chance to sell my model here.
There we go. A check, Bill. A check for $1,500. And of course, tomorrow, Fiona, you have to join in the debate tomorrow. So make sure you get a good night's rest tonight. Congratulations again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh,
Fiona, stay there for a second. Bill, if you'll come here for a second as well. And maybe we'll get a picture with all of the judges as well. And then we'll get it with the other contestants. Yep, group picture. Fiona, come, you're the, yes. Absolutely.
I thought it was wonderful the way you put the judges back in their place very quickly.
And if I could ask the other contestants to please come up as well for a group photo, please. Again, well done. While we're taking picture, a couple of housekeeping announcements. The buses will leave from the China World West Gate to the PATA Foundation Charity Gala at 6:45 tonight, at 6:45. Also, if you want to register for your transfer to the airport, or if you'd like to organize optional tours, you can do that at the desk, the PATA desk at all of the hotels. I think we're all set. Congratulations again. Well done. Very, very well done. Everybody, I was very impressed. I hope that all of you join PATA. Thank you very much for participating today.